Hi there, and welcome to episode 8 of Keys to the Market, your favorite real estate podcast. And as always, we're your favorite real estate team. We're the Lime Cooler Group from Southern California. I'm Eric, this is my mom Kathy,
Hi.
And my brother Ryan. And today, we are going to start a new series, or kind of a different aspect of that last series. And we're now going to start from the beginning of what you do as a buyer. So in the past couple episodes, we went through the entire process of what you do if you wanted to sell, or if you were going to sell. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to the past 6 episodes that we've been spending a really long time talking about all of that. So now we're going to start back over and talk about how it works if you are a buyer, what that means, how you go through all of that. And we're going to start with the buyer consultation. We'll talk about that a little bit, but it's similar to the listing presentation that we did on the seller side. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about the market, kind of see where everything's at these days. What are you guys seeing out there?
No, go for it, Mom. You were just talking to us. I was just regurgitating what you were saying.
What we're seeing in the market is that the inventory has slowed down. There's less inventory out there,
which is pretty common this time of year.
Yes. The buyers are still hesitant because even though we keep hearing about the Feds reducing interest rates, the interest rates have not gone down. Mortgage rates have not gone down. But the thing is, this is normal. We're coming into Thanksgiving. Usually between Thanksgiving and the New Year, people actually take their homes off the market because they just don't want to be interrupted during the holidays. They want some time for a break. They want to decorate their houses if they're going to, and just kind of not be worried about people coming in. So that's what we're seeing right now. They do predict that next year is probably going to start faster and stronger because they think that a lot of people that are sitting on the fence are seeing that it's time to get something going. We'll see. We'll let you know at that time. We'll have another 2 months of our podcast, or 2 times or 3 times of our podcast. So we'll tell you how things are going.
I'll give a big piece of advice on kind of what you just said. If you are going to be listing your house in the next couple of months, do not put up Christmas or holiday decorations. Do not have holiday decorations in your photos on the MLS or the on the market. Sometimes it can look pretty. I love Christmas decorations. I would love to decorate my house and all of that. What happens is you take the pictures of the house. It's a slower time, so you might not sell. You get into January, and the pictures on the market still have Christmas Christmas trees and Christmas lights out on the side of your house, and everyone immediately looks at it and thinks this house has been on the market for too long, and then wants to wonder what happened to it. It's like an immediate sign of something's wrong with the house. Don't do it.
No decorations.
If you have to sell now, I'm sorry. You at least keep the decorations down until you take the pictures of the house.
All right. We are moving on to the buyer consultation, which is essentially the listing presentation put on the buyer side, correct?
Yes.
So beyond that, what is the buyer consultation, and why is it essential for a successful home search for our buyers?
It's kind of, I'm jumping in.
That's okay.
It's kind of like what we said with the listing presentation. The buyer consultation is the time when you're trying to get everything, your ducks in a row, have an understanding of what you're looking for, what you want, to make sure your interests are aligned and your understanding is aligned with the agent that you're going to be working with. You're trying to make sure everything is fleshed out so that buying a house should be fun. It should be this exciting time when you go in and view these houses and see what you can afford and what you can get and everything. But if you don't start with a buyer consultation, if you don't start in the beginning and actually understand what you can afford and what you're looking for and where you want it and the specific aspects that you might want, you're going to be, 1, wasting a lot of your time, and 2, possibly seeing houses that you can't afford or can't actually get, and then thinking you're going to be able to have this amazing house, and then your expectations are going to be higher than what you can actually get. So it's important to really set those clear expectations, a clear understanding of what you can get, so that you can be actually happy when you reach that finish.
Yeah, it's not very fun at all to be looking at houses and loving houses and then finding out that you can't afford them. So the fun is when you figure out what your price range is, and then you can find the ones that are really good ones.
I want to step in for 1 second here, because the one thing that I think too about the buyer consultation, which is so important. It's probably your largest purchase that you're ever going to have and continuing to be. Even if you sell it and go to the next one, most people go up until you get my age and then you start going back down. But the truth is, with the buyer consultation, I've been in this business for 18 years. And for those 18 years, it has boggled my mind how little buyers interview their agents. They go on apps that will give them a different agent every time, showing them a house who has no connection with them. They don't know anything about the strategy that the agent uses to get them the best price to make sure. It's just mind-boggling to me. And so that's what the buyer consultation, any important decision that you make in your life, you sit down first and think about it. You contemplate what's the best way to go. Like, people will just find some guy down the street is a mortgage broker or a mortgage guy, and they go to him when there's like 7 who would have gotten a better deal for them or had better rates or a better program for their situation. Like, I remember talking to my own daughter about how there's teachers programs. There's programs for teachers in mortgages, and she knew nothing about it until you literally sit down and talk to someone. So that's the biggest thing I guess I would say to you. Talk to the agents, find out what their strategy is, how they go about it. And then there's just one little thing I'm going to say. It was one of the best lines that Eric ever told me, because we were sitting somewhere and someone was complaining about how their agent didn't deserve the money that they made as a buyer's agent because they found their own house.
The buyer found their own house.
Yeah.
The buyer found it like through Zillow or Redfin or something.
Or online. And I just laughed because you are so ultra focused on your own thing. Your agent's focused, but not every second like you are. They're seeing what's out there. They're trying to find side deals or anything that they can to benefit you. And Eric, we were at a person's house who had a plumber there, and Eric always said, it's not worth paying the plumber if you find a leak, right? The plumber's job is to fix the leak. The agent's job is to negotiate and get the best situation for you. And the buyer's consultation is where all of that starts.
I'm one who always likes to know exactly what's going to occur in different times. So I'll tell you, a buyer consultation is going to be very similar to a listing presentation. You're most likely going to have either you're going to meet the agent either at somewhere that your house, their office, something. It's going to be this conversation where they're going to show you how they're going to send you listings that come on the market. They're going to tell you different things about financing. It's probably going to be about an hour or so long conversation where you really flesh out all of those details between you and the agent, and you can understand. We've talked about it on when we discussed the new NAR settlement. With it, you didn't used to have to sign, it's called a buyer broker agreement, but you didn't used to have to sign an agreement between you as the buyer and the buyer's agent. That has changed. So normally in a buyer consultation, that agent is going to try to get you to sign the document saying that you are going to work with them. I just like to say that so people are aware of, at the end of that conversation, normally someone's going to try to get you to sign some contract.
It is a trust agreement too. You're on the same team. Yeah. Know that. They're not trying to get around you. They're just trying to be on your team and have you not go around them. So it's totally understandable.
Well, and the consultation itself is an interview for us as an agent too, because you have to make sure that we provide you value and that you see that value, or else we're never going to be on the same page. So I think that's a big part of it too. What do we usually ask the buyers when we're in that consultation? Because it's important for us to gather information as agents so that we can help them in their home search the best we possibly can. So what are some of those questions?
So this is actually a cool thing. Ryan actually made this a little bit ago.
He came in a little over a year ago, and he said, "You know what? I think you're missing this."
We have now what's called a buyer questionnaire. So we'll send that to a buyer. Normally, any type of agent would have similar type questions or whatever, but Ryan's cool, so he made it on the technological form that made it easy for you.
First time you've ever called me cool.
We're being filmed. We're being filmed. That's why. So essentially, what we're gonna ask you, or what your agent is gonna ask you, is, one, how much are you looking to buy the house for? I mean, that is going to also be into also like going and getting a finance, so you can see how much loan you can take and all of that, but more or less, how much money do you have to buy a house? How much are you willing to spend on the house? What cities do you want to live in? Is there any specific floor plans you want? Do you want a 2-car garage or a 3-car garage? Do you need an attached garage? Do you need a backyard? Do you want a pool? Do you want XYZ? So we're going to go through all of those things. And a lot of the times, like, you think like, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Orange. Go. And that is not even close to enough to truly allow you to, one, to allow us to help you find that house, but even two, for you to walk into those houses and understand what you're looking for. Because if we're going to ask you, do you want a gas stove or an electric stove? Does that matter to you? Some people will refuse to have a house. I've had it where someone would refuse to even look at a house because it has an electric stove. There's certain things that you might not even think about that we're actually going to start asking you, and it might actually make you kind of contemplate. Or you might say, Eric, that's a really stupid question. If I really want a gas stove, I'll add a gas line. It's not that big of a deal. Calm down. But for some people, it's a bigger deal than that.
One cool thing about the buyer questionnaire and just in general is once we set up that initial search, you'll start to get all those homes that you can see with us or by yourself at an open house. And then when you go into those houses, you start to realize things that you didn't even think about that really mattered to you. You'll say, you know what? I really like a house that has an office. I really like a house that has high ceilings when I walked in. And you didn't put that on the buyer questionnaire. But the cool thing is we can update it as we go, and we find out more and more about your interests. And so that broad search keeps getting narrower and narrower and narrower, so that you get...
It's a hard word.
Yeah. Especially when you say it 3 times. But it really helps you kind of get to that point where by the end of it, we're really narrowed down on the houses that you really want to see, and that you're seeing those houses more than just a big group of houses that, you'd find on Redfin or Zillow or wherever you're looking.
I think the other thing is too, we're kind of trying to look for a feel of what you're looking for. And that's a weird thing to say, but we're experts in the area. We know all of the communities in the area because we've been working them so long. So somebody who's starting to talk to us about how they'd really like to walk to get lunch, or they really want quiet, or they like a little more hustle and bustle, we know we know a community that you probably have not even thought of that meets your needs. It's all about just communication, talking to each other, using our expertise to get you in the home that's really going to make you happy.
So when we go into those buyer consultations, man, I can't talk. When we go into the buyer consultations, one of the main pieces of information that we need to know almost immediately after leaving is the financials of everything.
Yes.
Just so that you and us and your lender can all be on the same page, so that we understand how much money you literally have to buy the house, so that we're not looking way too high, so that you're not looking way too low, so that you find that comfortable range and figure out what your monthly payments would be and all of that. So let's elaborate on that.
Can I just say something about this? Because I want you to start on this one, because the thing that I want to say is that one of the biggest pushbacks that we get at this point, even if you've already had a lender look at you, we're going to talk to you about having another one and maybe more than one. And the biggest pushback, the biggest thing all of you buyers say to us is, I don't want them to run my credit, because running my credit is going to hurt my credit score. And Eric, who bought a house last year that said the exact same thing to me, learned something, and he'll tell you all about it.
I mean, I was going to kind of go into that a little bit. Like, I kept, when I was buying my own house, I kept thinking, I felt like it was this like catch-22. It was like, I want to know how much I can afford, but I don't want them to run my credit, because if they run my credit, then my credit score is going to go down, and then I can't afford more, and it's this never-ending cycle of like stupidity. I did learn that there are some lenders out there that actually can give you an estimate or a good pre-approval even without running your credit immediately. And that's kind of what I was going to say in kind of answer to this question is, this is similar to when we were talking about escrow on the seller side, and when we were talking about the title company on the seller side and everything, is we are very good at what we do. We are good at helping you buy a house. We are good at helping you sell your house. We are good at all of that. We also are good at knowing which lanes we are supposed to stay in. And the finances are the part that we can talk to you about. We can help you understand how much your down payment is going to be and what closing costs are going to be and all of that. But truly, you need to talk to a licensed lender, a mortgage professional, to really understand what you can afford, the different programs that they have. Like she said, there's different programs if you're a teacher, if you're a medical professional, if you're a veteran, there's a lot of different programs that are out there that can support you and help you. Everyone thinks you have to put 20% down on a house. You can put 3% down in some programs. You can put more than that down. You can put less. There's different ways to slice the pie. And I think it's really important to talk to that person. And during the buyer consultation, what we're going to do is we're going to see if you have a lender, if you have someone. Sometimes we have people that have been working with their lender for years and years and years, and they're very comfortable with that. If you have that, then that's great. We still might tell you to meet with some of our chosen professionals.
Or we'll have a good conversation with your lender.
Exactly. And they're the ones that are going to go through the big spreadsheets and figure out all of that. But then we're going to come back and we're going to talk to you about, or during this buyer consultation, we're going to say to you, this is what $1 million house looks like. This is what a $1.2 million house looks like. This is what a $1.5 million house looks like. So your lender is telling you that you can afford up to 1.5. You might be saying, I really want to buy 1.2 because I want that extra money, but we're going to show you what that actually means. Some people, that 1.2 house is exactly what they want. Some people don't realize that what that 1.5 is truly what they need, and if their lender is saying it, they're more willing to go there. So I think it's really just having that open and honest conversation about where you're at, where the money's going, where you want things, and what you're comfortable with.
The other thing that I would say about the lender part of it is, I've been in this for 18 years and I've seen a lot of good lenders and a lot of really bad lenders. And the one thing that I think a lot of buyers are confused about, I have never, Ryan has never, and Eric has never gotten 2 cents from any lender we've ever used. Lenders do not kick real estate agents back money. It's illegal. So just so you know, anyone that we're giving you as a lender is somebody that's tried and true. We've gone through escrows with them and they have really done the best for our clients. That's what I think. Agents have a lot more historical knowledge than sometimes buyers realize or give them credit for.
That's our only payback from the lender, is for you to be happy in the end. So if that lender messes with you or with us, that won't be our lender anymore. And it won't be your lender. It won't be. I think that's important to know too, that it's honestly all for you. So
Yes.
We make money by doing a good job for our sellers or our buyers. We don't make money anywhere else. No one else wants to give us money. No one else does anything.
Want their money.
We don't want their money. We
want them to give it back to you.
We make money by doing a good job for our clients.
That's a good, simple way to put it. So we just talked about one of the misconceptions that buyers might have, but how do we address those misconceptions, and what are they?
So I think one of the bigger ones is what you just addressed of why doesn't my agent find me every single house? You as a buyer are hyper focused on it. That doesn't mean that we're not out there looking for it. It just means that, like we said, there are some times where I'm going to ask you if you want an open kitchen and a pool in the backyard, and then some people end up buying a house that's exactly opposite of all of that.
Right.
Because and it makes sense. I mean, there's certain things you think you want, and then you walk into some houses and it just has that feeling.
Emotional. It's totally emotional.
It's the house. So you can't expect your agent to find you the house that you never told them you wanted. Other things I think that are misconceptions with buyers, I'm going to go with pricing nowadays. That's kind of a misconception with sellers too, but we used to be in days when the sellers would price high, a buyer would come in lower, and they meet in that middle. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like, I'm going to list at $1 million, you're going to offer 900,000, and we're going to settle at 950. Yay, we did it. That's not really how real estate works anymore, at least in Southern California. I'm pretty sure it's everywhere else in the nation as well. Nowadays, the prices that houses are at are basically pretty close to where they're actually.
And we can tell you that, because we can tell you, we're going to analyze, just like we would analyze for a seller, what the comparables are, what the market should sell that house for. we're going to do the same thing for you as a buyer. Now, in a few years ago, we would tell you that, and then buyers would go crazy and astronomically move up that price. But we're usually always very close to what that house should sell for. And if we tell you that they're priced right, they're priced right. Or if we tell you that they're overpriced, a lot of times if they're overpriced, you need to wait a little bit because they have to come to the realization first.
And this is a part where having a trusted agent is actually really important.
Yes.
Because you need to know as a buyer that's kind of why we start every one of these podcasts kind of talking about where the market's at right now. Because we need to know that. If houses are getting a lot of offers, we have to be telling our buyers, you might have to offer over the asking price. You might have to do certain things on your offer to make it more appeasing to the seller. If the market is slower, you might have more of a chance of getting in a little bit lower. You might be able to look a little bit lower in terms of prices. So it's you have to trust your agent and have someone that really has a pulse of the market, because it almost sounds stupid. I'm talking about possibly like $20,000 on a house, but that can make it or break it. And if that's a house you really want, you don't want to lose it over $20,000, $10,000, $5,000 because your agent didn't know what the market was 100%. Doing.
There's another really big misconception, and it's that your agent doesn't really matter. And that's not true. I cannot tell you how many offers that we have put in for houses for our clients, had a conversation with the agent who we've known for years and been guided into the correct way to get our offer sold. Or how many agents have written back to us and said, I really want to work with you. You build a reputation over all these years. It matters.
If they want a smooth transaction too. And there's so many real estate agents out there that don't have a reputation. They have a bad reputation. They just are, flying by the seat of their pants. And established real estate agents don't want to deal with that. So if they know they're dealing with us and they've dealt with us before, they know that it's going to be a smooth transaction. They know they can share information with us and that we will talk to our clients and make them understand. All that stuff's really important for a client because it actually gives you a leg up on everybody else. If people say, oh, that's Kathy, Eric, and Ryan Limecooler, they were great to work with. We should work with this agent. We can get to where we need to get to with this agent. You know what I mean?
As a listing agent, you want to work with people because when you're looking at two offers and they look very similar, if you're on the selling side, you're looking at two offers and they look very similar, and you know that one agent has a good client and they're going to work through it and they're going to close the deal, your seller's most likely going to accept that offer over one that the offer is written poorly and then they didn't send you all the information that you need and all of that.
Another thing is too, we as listing agents, I'm going to turn the hat a little bit, look up the buying agent. We look them up, and if we see that they have expired on so many deals or canceled so many deals, it's we see red flags too. We know the red flags from the beginning, and I think that that's an important thing. It keeps going back to that trust from the beginning. You have to trust your agent when they say to you, okay, I see your inspection, and I know we'll go over an inspection later. I see your inspection report, but these are the only important things. The rest of them are not important. So asking for all of that is probably going to ruin your deal. And that's something else we'll talk about. But that's one of the other misconceptions, that you can keep negotiating and negotiating and negotiating. People get tired of it.
So let's outline the timeline for the buyers. We would do this in a buyer consultation, but let's do that for everybody who's watching at home, just so that they can be prepared, so that when they meet with us, they're have their checklist ready.
So overarchingly, we're going to go through these in the next couple weeks of our podcast, but you start with this buyer consultation, and you're going to leave that and have this checklist of times. We're going to have
all kinds of paperwork.
We're going to have an understanding of your preferences, and you're going to go to the financial professional after that. That's kind of your next step.
Or we're going to give you respect that if you do have a financial, you're going to have a conversation.
You're going to go back to either a new financial professional or your financial professional, and you're going to make sure you have an understanding of your price. house. From then, we're going to open the searching period. So you're actually going to start, we're going to start sending you houses. You're going to start looking. We're going to, like you said, we're going to start asking about off-market houses and looking around. We're going to go through all those channels that we have to find you that perfect house. That part can really take as long as it could take 2 days. It could take, I'm going to say 2 years. That's probably an exaggeration, but like for certain people, it could take longer. So, I mean, in terms of a timeline, that really just depends on how long. I would say more or less like common is maybe a month or two that you're looking. And then we're going to write an offer. We're going to put the offers in on it, and then hopefully you're going to get accepted on a house. We're going to go through the escrow process. We'll talk about that again, but it's similar to the one we talked about on the seller side.
Timeline.
And then you're going to close on the house. At that point is when you're going to get in possession and actually own the house.
Can we stop real quick and talk about pre-approvals just a little bit? I feel like, I know that that's a lending thing, but also it's something that almost every agent at this point is asking us for when
Yes.
we're putting in our offers, or even showing a house sometimes.
Yes.
They want to see the pre-approval. So that's something that a buyer needs to have ready to go when they're ready to start that search process.
Before we see the first house, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's everybody wants, they come to us, they finally have reached out to an agent and they just want to buy the house then. And it's kind of like, there's a process. Let's go through the process. Let's get you in position so that when we write that first offer, we're ready to go. Like we can actually buy the house at that point. And the pre-approval is part of it. And that's something that after you leave us, as Eric said, you'll talk to either your financial person or a few financial people, come up with the one you want to work with, or at least the one at that point that's going to write you a nice pre-approval letter. And we'll go, then we're more ready to go.
And it's just letting them know, letting the seller know what
That you can buy their house.
Yeah, that you can actually afford the house. And
100%.
it's your lender vouching for a certain
Yes.
amount of money.
Yes.
It's the lender saying that they've looked through the majority of your paperwork, your finances, and that they're pre-estimating that they're going to be able to offer you out on this.
And we have cool ways of doing it so that we don't have to show the seller the full amount that you are pre-approved by. We can look at a house and change the pre-approval to make it fit so that you don't give away all your cards and let them know you still have another $500,000 or whatever to add to the top. There's ways to go about doing that. We have a lot of good strategies.
Yeah, our pre-approval letter is phenomenal. Like, it's funny, but I can't tell you how many agents are impressed just because of our pre-approval letter, because it's so clean looking, right? Like, we give them just what they need, where it's not a whole bunch of fluff, it's just what they need.
So when we're in our presentation, how do we explain agency relationships and the role, our role as their agent?
So this is going back to, and I think this is a good time to kind of bring this back up. This is when we were talking about the NAR, the National Association of Realtors settlement that we talked about. I think it was in episode 2. Essentially, I'll go back to the beginning. Essentially, the role of an agent, an agency relationship, means that that agent is going to work for you. It's called a fiduciary duty to you as the buyer. They have the duty to be open and honest with you and to do the correct things for you. Nowadays, due to this new law, which is actually a good thing. I mean, I know we keep talking about this new law and everything, but like, it's actually a good thing. It makes the whole entire real estate industry more professional. And it means that you as a buyer have to have in a relationship, a signed contract with an agent in order to see a property outside of an open house. That I think we talked about it before, but I'll mention it. Like, that can mean that you just have a relationship with that agent on that specific house that you're looking at. Based on the fact that we're talking about the buyer consultation, I'm not going to suggest that, because we are the ultimate idea we're trying to say is that you should have an agent that you trust and you want to work with and you're going to work with over the long haul, because it's not 99 and 9/10 of the time, it's not going to be that first house you walk into that it's like, this is it, yay!
And I think there's been a misconception too that it always helps a buyer to walk in the door without an agent, because then they can negotiate with the selling agent. But a lot of the time that dual agency isn't going to work in your benefit. And I can tell you, even on the selling side, we like when buyers come in with an agent.
Yes.
That means that they're serious. that they know what they're looking for and that we have someone to contact and talk to. When people come in kind of like willy-nilly on their own, it's kind of a red flag to begin with, because you can kind of tell that they don't have all of their ducks in a row to move forward.
Here's something else that I think that this has actually come at I know it's for a different reason, but it's actually perfect that this is how now there is an agency where you have to work in the best interest of this buyer, because what happened is that's how the companies that you just call and one of their agents will show you a house and one different agent will put in your offer and a different agent will be at your inspection. That's how those companies came to be. It was because the buyers were really running around. Yeah. They had no focus. They weren't going with an agent who could guide them in the right direction. And people were getting mad over ridiculous things like that. They wanted to see the house today and you couldn't get them in until tomorrow. That's why they went to these online agencies. And it was so, once you're prepared and you have your pre-approval letter, you know what you're looking for, and your agent's working, making appointments with other agents, it's all a smoother process. It's not this crazy, hectic process. And I think that this buyer broker has created that. Like now our clients, they know we're in it for them. They know that we're going to drop everything to get them into that house, that I have a better chance of getting them into a house before somebody else because of our relationships, right? Absolutely. A lot of that really matters. And I think that this has brought that more about.
I also think that kind of in terms of this, there's a bit of a belief, kind of like what you were saying, like there's a bit of a belief that like if I walk into an open house and I am coy and I don't tell them what I'm looking for and this and that, and like I'm going to negotiate for myself and I'm going to work this angle and everything. I truly, and as you were talking, I'm sitting here thinking, I cannot think of ever a time when someone benefited themselves because they did that. I can't, in any of my recollection, have any thought of a time where like someone doing that led to them getting the house or getting the house for a cheaper price or honestly anything. The only time I can think of when people have like negotiated well and gotten something as a client or whatnot is when their agent did it. They had a buyer's agent that walked into the house.
It was excellent.
And talked to us as a listing agent or talked to the listing agent and negotiated things and understood what was going on and worked together. So like there's this idea that you're somehow going to
benefit,
win by working for yourself. And I think a lot of people are missing the fact that like the agents do this as a job, and if you trust them, they're actually going to do a significantly better job and get you that win that you think you want. Also, the last thing I'm going to say on this is there's somewhat of a misconception too. There's a lot of misconceptions about how agents get paid. We kind of got into that a little bit, but still a lot of the time the buyer's agent is going to be paid by the seller. The vast majority of the time that we're seeing these days, you're going to sign that contract that says that you're going to pay the agent, and it's going to say that it's either going to come from the seller or from the buyer. We're many a month into this, and I have yet to see a time when the buyer actually paid it directly. There was times when the buyer paid their own agent directly even before the settlement happened. So like that might happen from time to time, but sellers are still paying the buyer's agents. So get an agent that you trust, and I'm pretty sure they're most likely going to be able to get the seller to pay for it.
Yes.
Finally, like what resources or tools do we provide beyond the Redfin and the Zillow? Because a lot of even those people who have agents are still on those sites because they want to have some autonomy with their searching. What do we provide that's beyond that?
Definitely. I think the biggest thing you're going to get as a buyer when you leave is that searching function. You're gonna start to see houses that are going to come to you. But then in also with that, like we said, we're going to do a buyer questionnaire. So there's going to be continued ideas of things that you might want to change. You're going to work with a lender and you're going to have different aspects of how you can do your finances and everything. There's going to be different things that you can find where different houses and whatnot. We also are going to work with other agents that we know. I think I kind of mentioned this a little bit, is that we are going to work with agents we know in the area to see if there's upcoming houses that are off market or houses that haven't hit the market yet that we know and we can show to you. I mean, as a buyer, if you're a seller, stop listening to what I'm about to say. As a buyer, buying a house off market is a good thing for you. If the house goes to the market, that means the market's going to show. The rest of the buyers are going to come and are going to fight one another. If you're a buyer and we can help you find a house that is not currently listed, you have less competition. When there's less competition, you have a better chance of getting it for the price or the terms that you want.
Yes.
Sellers, you can listen again. There still are reasons that you might want to sell your house off market. Sometimes it's easier for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a quicker transaction. There's a lot of different things, but you can get that. We'll give you those type of resources as well.
I would say too that the biggest thing that I'm hoping that you would find out in your initial buyer consultation, and you'd realize by talking to them, we find that that's what happens to us, is the ability to negotiate. The ability to negotiate is the key point that a buyer's agent's going to be able to do it for you. Their knowledge of the area that you're working in, and also their ability to negotiate with the other side. The ability to keep you safe. The ability to know that what inspections, like do this inspection. If your first inspector says that the roof might have some issues, it's worth getting a roof inspection. And it's worth, all of this is really important, because remember, when you signed a buyer broker, that agent has said to you, I'm working for you. I'm working in your best interest. And that's how they will do. You were talking about agents who had a house that the listing agent, that they think that they're better off going to the listing agent. Sometimes all listing agents are not on the up and up. And I have in my career told a buyer, gone to the listing agent and said, my buyer really wants this house. You can have them. I want to watch it through the way, because that was the best thing for my buyer.
So you're saying in that circumstance, you took no money.
I took no money to help.
You helped your buyer buy the house without making any money off of it.
Well, I sold their house on the other side. It's all about the team spirit, right? There's a team spirit, and there's the ability to negotiate for your client and to know what's best and to know how to get them to get the house. They're going to live in this house. They're going to enjoy this house, and that's the most important thing. And I think that's the role of a buyer's agent. Like, you need to really care about them and really work for them.
And when we set up these searches, it's cool too that like we have 3 people every day, several times a day, that are looking at those searches for you and saying, wow, this is a great price on a house in this neighborhood. Right. Oh, this price just got reduced. This is a good price now. We see that stuff, and it might not click right away for you. For us, it's like we need to reach out to our buyers and let them know about this house that just came on. We kind of have an eye. We do this on the regular. So I think that just having that extra 3, pairs of eyes to help you out in your search is just an extra added value that you wouldn't get if you're just on your own.
Right.
So that wraps up the buyer consultation. After this point, you're then going to actually start going and doing the home search. You're going to do the fun part of the transaction, or the buyer side. So we're going to get into that in our next episode. If you have any questions for us, as always, you can comment on any of our social media or email us at info@limecoolergroup.com, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.